Perched above the city with sweeping views of downtown and the Rockies, Potter Highlands is one of Denver's most storied and soulful neighborhoods. Rich with Victorian architecture, deep-rooted community pride, and a history that spans utopian dreams, immigrant legacies, and even ghost stories. This area has always stood apart, from its day as a tuberculosis retreat with pure artesian wells to its present-day identity as a hub for foodies, families, and creatives. Potter Highlands blends the charm of the past with the vibrancy of the now. It's not just a neighborhood, it's a living time capsule where every block has a story, and every story starts with the people who've called it home. We're here in the Potter Historic District in the Highlands, and this was one of the first neighborhoods, and it was founded by none other than a Baptist minister. He came here, got this land, built a church over in Denver, then he suddenly died, and there was a fight with the Baptist church on what would happen to this land. Eventually, someone bought it, and they developed it into a subdivision in the 1870s. This was one of the first ones here, in what would become the town of the Highlands, and later Denver, because they had some huge transportation issues. This being the town above Denver, out of Denver, Utopia, they built a real mix to bring as many good Christians into this neighborhood as they possibly could. And that's a street like this with a bunch of big houses, or what we were just by, that had a lot of multifamily, so a real mix of architecture here, but some really beautiful houses that you're gonna see. In 1858, when gold fever swept through the Rockies, fortune seekers poured into what would become the Mile High City. That same year, two rival towns sprang up, Auraria, tucked between the South Platte River and Cherry Creek, and Denver City, just across the creek to the east. Then came Highland, founded on higher grounds across the Platte by the man who founded Denver, General William Larimer and David C. Collier, visionaries who saw opportunity, a little money, where others saw wilderness. At first, Auraria and Denver City bickered like siblings, each claiming to be the real heart of the region. But survival has a funny way of forcing unity. By 1859, the two merged under one name, Denver. Highland, meanwhile, evolved as its own proud enclave and was soon folded into the larger identity as North Denver. It's been called that for years. Locals will yell at you if you don't call it that. Just a year later, in 1861, Congress officially formed the Colorado Territory, laying the groundwork for the Denver that we know and we love today. Okay, we're walking into one of the main commercial districts here. We've talked a lot about the streetcar in this one, and this is where the streetcar would be going, right here on 32nd. And there's some big stops on this streetcar here in this neighborhood, which is what made this commercial district right here at Zuni and 32nd thrive. Let's go into it. Highland became one of Denver's first streetcar suburbs, a revolutionary idea in the late 1800s that let residents live in peaceful, tree-lined neighborhoods while commuting into the bustling city by electric streetcar. And side note, I think Bela agrees with me here, they should have kept the streetcars. Our city would have been so much cooler with them. We could have been like, San Francisco, but better. We all know what it's like now, and as lines expanded from downtown across the Platte, Highland blossomed with the stately Victorian homes, corner groceries, churches, attracting middle-class families who wanted both fresh air and urban access. It was the original blueprint for walkable, connected living long before that became, I guess, the buzzword that it is now. The streetcar went down 32nd, It connected to 16th Street in Denver, which is like the main downtown drag, and it cuts a different commercial district. So it goes along 29th, it goes along 32nd, over here in this neighborhood. Potter Highlands commercial district is centered around the historic district still. So we go down 32nd, which has pretty much all the main commercial drag here where the streetcar would have gone through. It's still the central focus of the Potter Highlands and all of its commercial activity. So it's good restaurants and everything like that. Most of that's on 32nd. Residential streets in the Potter Historic District. As you walk in here, there's a little gate that enters you into the Potter Highlands here, founded in 1863, like I said, predating even the town of Highland, what to speak of the annexation into Denver after that, so pretty cool. So let's go to the beginning of the Potter Highlands, and it was founded in 1863 by Reverend Walter McDuffie Potter. What a name. He came out to Denver, saw a rough and tumble town in need of some soul saving, and convinced the Baptist Home Missionary Society to send him back as a full-time missionary. He and his sister Lucy returned that winter and founded Denver's first Baptist church. Thinking ahead, they actually then homesteaded over here in the historic district on 320 acres just west of the Platte, and they built a church here. So this church is now a residence. It does still stand and is one of the oldest buildings over here on this side of the river. But Potter's story was short. He died just a few years later at age 29, leaving the land to the Home Missionary Society to cover church debts. That kicked off a messy dispute. The church thought they would get the land, the society didn't want it, and the third party, here comes in old Samuel Crozer, who showed up looking to foreclose. Eventually, everyone agreed to sell the land to developers. That sale led to the platting of a 36-block neighborhood in 1872. Just 3 years later, on April 8, 1875, the town of Highlands was officially born, and Potter Highlands became part of its legacy. There's a big Mason presence. A lot of these, people that I've looked into and dug on, they've really got a lot of Mason presence, and they do Mason burial rites, stuff like that. So a big Masonic presence here in this neighborhood. So big Masonic lodge that's here, beautiful building. They do events there still, but gorgeous historical building in this neighborhood. Just 3 blocks up from 32nd. Now that's that big commercial area that we were at. You can kind of start to see the boundaries of this neighborhood. 32nd, 38th, F Boulevard or Boulevard Federal now on one side and Zuni on the other side. So that was the subdivision, the Potter Highlands, and I always think about the big balloons they must have had up here, those home sellers back in the day, building all these sort of models around here, bungalow, Edwardian, Queen Anne, Dutch colonial, all of that. So that would have been, comment below if you think that home builders should be a little bit more extravagant like they used to be. So you see the intersection of huge Mexican presence, huge Italian presence, and that's really the story of transformation that's been Potter Highland Historic District. So let's go check out the rest of it here. Beautiful homes here. Love all these double porches. They're so beautiful. Tree-lined streets. Now this is a neighborhood right here. And really, Porch 30 feels like New Orleans, and it's beautiful. So walking by a bunch of really historic ones between 37th and 38th. So I wanted to point out during the founding of the Highlands, this was meant to be a utopia. They didn't even allow chickens. It's gotten a lot more relaxed around here at the Highlands, which is great. Beautiful garden like we were pointing out, and then our friends adding the fertilizer. So Denver at this time, it's just kind of building with demand, and Potter Highlands was one of Denver's first truly intentional neighborhoods, a true planned urban development like we have today. And it bounced by what we now call Federal to the west, 38th to the north, Zuni to the east, and 32nd to the south. Back then, Federal was known as the Boulevard. That's when it was a tree-lined street with mansions on it, not the busy Federal that we know today, but some of those big mansions are still there. And 38th was actually known as Prospect Trail, and it was a key route west for gold seekers. So if you're thinking about going to Golden, you're taking what is now 38th, which was then Prospect Trail. The commercial heartbeat of the area was along Zuni, so the road running in the middle, and then especially near 30th, where the Denver Tramway Company had its main terminal and streetcar barns. So, and then it pops up to 32nd from there, as we can see on the old maps. The vision for Highlands was bold. Locals wanted to build a kind of utopia, like we've been talking about in these videos. No dirty industry like down in that disgusting Denver, just clean living, gardens, churches, got to get a little God in there, and some fresh air. And what to speak of that artesian water that was just found in the wells right below it. It was truly a marketable suburb. While Denver was still dusty, chaotic, treeless, full of debauchery, brothels, all the bad stuff, you know, that society brings with it, the folks in the Highlands were planting shade trees, and they were tending roses, and they were living that rosy lifestyle. They were proud, maybe a little too proud, of their pure morals, their artesian well water, which is of course cleaner than Denver's, and their reputation as the Garden City of the Plains. Potter Highlands also had smart design. Each block was square, and many had a carriage turnaround in the center, some of which still exist today. You can see the roundabouts that are formed in this neighborhood were at one time carriage turnarounds for the horses. Despite its name, the Highlands wasn't solely a Scottish enclave. It was a true melting pot. While Scots did settle here, they were joined by English, Germans, Welsh, and Cornish immigrants, followed by the next wave of Irish, Italian, and Hispanic communities. We'll do a whole videos on those. And today, Potter Highlands continues to evolve, drawing young families who want character, charm, and a sense of neighborhood in an established, walkable area. It was at one time cheap, it's not anymore. It's a place where history lives on, not just in architecture, but in the way neighbors connect. To honor and protect the heritage, the Potters Highland Historic District was officially established in 1979 and expanded in 1987, and there is a true sense of pride here. Just to locate you on where we're at, and right now we're walking to what used to be a huge sanitarium back in the 19th century. Hundreds of people, multiple buildings. This place housed a lot of people that sanitariums house. So that was home to this neighborhood as well. That juxtaposition of these big homes and with something like that in the neighborhood is a really interesting one. So that's, I'm guessing, why it closed down. This whole campus would have been the Oaks home, which was one of the biggest sanatoriums founded by Reverend Oaks. He was an Episcopal guy. So a lot of Protestant Reformation groups are here in the Highlands because this is a Reformation neighborhood, baby. I mean, this is where you were living in the utopia, not with the dirt and pollution of Denver right down that way. So this is why there's such a huge presence here. But it did prevent the area from expanding in ways that it could. They petitioned to put a park here, but because there were, well, sanitarium people here, they didn't build a huge park around this area. Of course, Highland Park's just right over there. But this could have been a huge park, but they were fearful it would become a park for the consumptive. We don't have any of that in Denver though, do we? Tuberculosis. It's running rampant through the United States at this time, and there's a bunch of planned institutional healing centers that are helping take care of people. And at the edge of this neighborhood towards the boulevard are Federal, and about 33rd, that's where we see the Oaks home. The Oaks home was founded in 1894 by another great Reverend, Frederick W. Oaks, who was Denver's first tuberculosis sanitarium and the second in the United States, right in the heart of this neighborhood, with over 25 classical revival buildings, including spaces like the Emily House, Grace House, and the poignant Heart's Ease for the critically ill. It became a major destination for those seeking healing in Colorado's clean air. Though the original buildings were eventually demolished, the site evolved into a retirement community now known as the Gardens of St. Elizabeth's, which is ran by the Catholic Church, no longer the Episcopal Church like its founder. St. Elizabeth's Chapel, built for patients too ill to leave the grounds, still stands today and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Across the street, the Adams Memorial Home, dedicated in 1902 by Charles Adams in honor of his wife and daughter, both lost to tuberculosis, served those who couldn't afford the Oaks Home, and continues today as the Lennox Retirement Home. Potter Highlands wasn't just a neighborhood, this was a place where people could come and heal. All right, here we are. Big complex, all newer construction in different phases, but beautiful older church right here that belongs to that original Oaks establishment. Was Episcopal, now it's Catholic. We got a new pope. And we're right across from North High School. They're partying over there. We're getting close to graduation. Beautiful time of year. North High School, which was founded in 1883, so during the town of the Highlands, is one of Denver's oldest and most storied public schools, built to serve the rapidly growing communities of the North Side, including Potter Highlands, Berkeley, and Sunnyside, and it's right here in this neighborhood. Its striking Gothic Revival building, completed in 1911, still stands as a neighborhood landmark with sweeping views of downtown and the mountains. North quickly became more than just a school. It was a cultural hub, a source of neighborhood pride, and a springboard for generations of talented students. Amongst its most notable alumni is Spring Byington, who we talked about in our last video. She was born in Colorado Springs, and she graduated from North High School at the ripe age of 14. She was in a lot of famous films like Shirley Temple. Other graduates include Golda Meir, who briefly attended North before rising to become Prime Minister of Israel, Don Cheadle, an award-winning actor known for Hotel Rwanda in the Marvel Universe, and our former mayor, Michael Hancock, who's the 45th mayor. North's legacy is one of grit, transformation, and community, shaping leaders, artists, and changemakers for over a century. We're looking at some pretty classic types of architecture around here. American Foursquare, which in Denver we call Denver Foursquare. I think some of the greatest examples right here. And then on this side over here by these giant lilac bushes, you've got Dutch Colonial, a Queen Anne style house with a huge porch. You don't see those porches very often. And then as we go to the corner here, you see an even older house that's outside of these. So there were some houses that predated the subdividing and even the town of Highlands, because this was a really early one. So some of the oldest houses in the area, especially on the west side, are in this neighborhood. The Lumber Baron Inn. The grand Queen Anne style mansion, now known as the Lumber Baron Inn, was originally built by John Moab, a successful Denver and Aspen lumber baron and vice president of the Northside Building and Loan Company. So this guy was into trees and making trees. The legend says he lost his fortune in the Panic of 1893. They were just talking trash on the old lumber baron because he actually lived in this home until 1906 before he retired and went to San Diego. The home later passed through several hands to attorneys. So the north side was nice, and then the north side starts getting a little rough. So in World War II, it was chopped up into 23 tiny apartments. One of its most colorful owners was James Fowler, a known Denver communist who believed a mansion like this belonged to the people, not a single capitalist. Problem is, this building got in pretty rough shape because not any of those people cared about it. So by the 90s, the house was falling apart and it was condemned. until Maureen and Walter Keller bought it and spent 4 years lovingly restoring it. Their work paid off, and in 1995 the mansion won second place in the National Trust for Historic Preservation's Great American Home Award. Today, it's a stunning bed and breakfast known as the Lumber Baron Inn, rightfully called so because there's so many different types of exotic wood in here, so you'll see a lot of different types of wood if you go and stay at the Lumber Baron Inn. But its history comes with a chilling twist. Like I said, it was partitioned into all of these apartments, and some of them didn't treat the place so well, and some of them could still live there today. The inn is said to be haunted by the spirits of 2 young women who were murdered there in the 70s when the house was a rundown boarding house. Guests have reported strange noises, flickering lights, and the feeling of being watched. Not that all old homes don't already have all of those things, but this could make it an even more exciting stay for you in a very elegant 19th century home. So you gotta check this one out, or if you want to buy it, I'd love to show you the place. 36th and Federal on a boundary here of the Potter Highland Historic District. So we're going to keep going to 37th, 38th here. There's some historic structures we want to point out. 38th also has a lot of commercial buildings on it, restaurants on it. You'll see. 32nd, which was the streetcar line, right? So 32nd we've talked a lot about. We were just on it, a little more boutique-y. We used to be the main drag, really, though, with the streetcar going right on through there. But now, 38th and Federal, a little bit more intense with the 2-lane traffic running through here. So a major artery on the west side of town. But we're walking by, and there's some beautiful ones because, like Federal, 38th used to be a lot quieter, and they built a lot of beautiful homes along it too. Now we're going to talk about a house that's no longer there on 38th, but really this is an interesting story. So it's called Pomeroys Folly, and it's after Marcus Brick Pomeroy, who was Potter Highlands' most infamous character, maybe until the Small Downs and the Italian mobs later. He's part showman, part swindler. There's a lot of showmans in this area, with a circus happening at Sloan's Lake, Lakeside Amusement Park, Eagleage, which we're going to do a video on next. And he became known in local lore. He was known for his fiery red hair, although most photos show him completely bald. Officially, he was a newspaper editor. That's what he said on paper, but Brick really made his money through charm and shady investments, promoting over 24 mining companies, none of which ever paid a single dividend, so the original Ponzi scheme. His wildest plan was the Atlantic and Pacific Tunnel, a scheme to dig straight through the Rockies and supposedly fund it with the precious metals mined along the way. Pretty good idea, right? But the company unsurprisingly went broke even before they even broke through the ground. Pomeroy's Grand Mansion, one of Denver's finest at the time, was later turned into the Bell Lennox Home for Children before being torn down in 1935. Today, on 38th, a gas station and mini mall sit where his dreams once did. Whether he actually lived in the house still remains a mystery, but the neighborhood still remembers it as Pomeroys Folly, a monument to ambition, ego, and just a bit of con artistry. Now, you can experience more than just history in the Potter Historic District. There is a ton of good stuff on 32nd. Potter Highlands blends historic charm with some of Denver's most beloved neighborhood spots. If you're looking to take a trek on the Italian side, Spuntino stands out with his chef-owned Italian-inspired menu, handmade pastas, slow-braised meats, and seasonal dishes rooted in local ingredients. Just around the corner is Middle State Coffee, which fuels the neighborhood with some of the best small batch coffee in the city. It's minimalist space with maximum flavor, perfect for locals who take their brew seriously, and I love coffee. If you need a fresh cut, go to my barber. Barber Theory is the neighborhood's go-to barber shop where timeless craft meets modern culture. It's more than a haircut, it's part of the local rhythm, so to speak. And for some of the best Mexican food in Denver, Taqueria La Familia delivers big flavors with an even bigger heart. The family's still running this place. It's known for its warm hospitality, family recipes, and it's in a humble spot where you're going to get some great deals, one of Denver's best hole-in-the-wall restaurants. Thank you so much for taking the time to walk through Potter Highlands with us today, a neighborhood where streetcar lines once buzzed, tuberculosis patients came to heal, and the echoes of Denver's earliest dreamers still linger in the bricks and tree-lined streets. From historic mansions to legendary locals, this place holds more than just architecture, it holds the soul of a city. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to follow Radically Colorado below for more deep dives into the story behind Colorado's most iconic places. Got a favorite Colorado-based movie, show, piece of history, restaurant, anything that we can explore here, please drop your comment below. We do everything member-driven, so all of our videos are suggested to us by viewers like you, and we cannot wait to bring you on our next Radically Colorado adventure.